My wife was sitting in the kitchen, drinking the coffee I'd made with oat milk and vanilla, looking down at me, and said, "You're such a simp. You don't even deserve intimacy." I smiled back, grabbed my laptop, and typed "divorce lawyer" into the search bar. Because when a woman despises you, you can't win her back with gifts and massages. But you can win back your self-respect. Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. The coffee mug hit the marble counter with a sharp crack. Not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to make you jump. 3 weeks, Emma, I said, my voice barely holding together. 3 weeks of sleeping next to someone who won't even look at me. Emma didn't flinch. She leaned against the fridge with her arms crossed, sipping from her water bottle like I was some forgettable commercial playing in the background. "I told you," she said, her tone as crisp as her white robe. "I've just been tired lately." "Tired?" I repeated. "Tired doesn't make you flinch when I touch your back. Tired doesn't mean hiding out in the guest room 3 nights in a row. Tired doesn't explain why I'm starting to feel like a roommate with bad timing." She let out a long, theatrical sigh. "Jack, you're reading way too much into everything. Not every little thing is some huge crisis. God, you've been so dramatic lately." "Dramatic?" I stepped closer, pointing at the empty breakfast plate I'd made her this morning. Perfect, scrambled eggs, fresh-cut strawberries, toast. All cold now. I'm killing myself trying to keep things together. And you act like I'm being needy just because I notice you won't even look me in the eye anymore. She rolled her eyes. "You want a medal for doing what a husband's supposed to do?" "No." My voice snapped louder now. "I want a marriage. I want a wife who doesn't check out the second things get quiet. I want to stop feeling like I'm walking on broken glass just to keep you from freezing me out completely." Her expression sharpened. "You always need something. Attention, praise, reassurance. You drain people, Jack." That one hit home. I caught my breath, but I pushed through it. "It's too much now, Emma." She blinked. Her mouth opened a little, then tightened. "Excuse me." I shook my head, my voice quieter. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm done playing along. Whatever this is, the silence, the shrugs, the way you dodge intimacy, it's not just stress. It's something else." For the first time, something flickered behind her eyes. Maybe guilt, maybe just annoyance at being cornered. She didn't answer. She just turned her back and reached for her phone. I watched her back, the curve of her spine disappearing into that robe, the distance between us thicker than any wall. "I'm late for Pilates," she said coldly, already scrolling. And just like that, the conversation ended, like slamming a book shut mid-sentence. That moment stayed with me long after the door closed. I rinsed out my mug and stared through the kitchen window at the Denver skyline, a line of gray swallowing the morning sun. My life wasn't extraordinary, but it was stable. I ran a small web development firm from home, met deadlines, kept my promises. We bought this house 4 years ago, right after our wedding in Estes Park, a modern 2-story with glass walls, stone countertops, a backyard just big enough for a hammock I barely used. I was the guy who made her coffee at 7 a.m. sharp, who folded her laundry the way she liked, socks rolled instead of paired. I remembered her mom's birthday, even when she forgot it. And yet, somehow, I'd become invisible in my own home. That night, I knocked gently on the bedroom door, even though it was my own room too. The house was silent except for the distant hum of the dishwasher, nothing to drown out the awkwardness between us. I had a cup of mint tea in one hand, her favorite. She used to call it her wind-down potion, back when we'd curl up under blankets and laugh at bad Netflix thrillers. She was already under the covers, scrolling through her phone, her face lit up in that bluish glow. "Hey," I said softly, stepping inside. "I made you tea." Emma didn't look up. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." I set it down on her nightstand. "Thought it might help you sleep." She gave a polite nod, like I was a kind neighbor, not a man who'd once promised to grow old with her. I sat on the edge of the bed, not too close. The mattress didn't even dip under my weight, like I wasn't really there. "I was thinking," I began, trying to keep my voice light. "Maybe this weekend we could drive up to Boulder, hike the Flatirons like we used to. Just us." She shrugged. "I've got a thing with Mindy on Saturday. Maybe Sunday." "Okay." I offered a small smile, inching closer. My fingers grazed her shoulder, just barely. "I miss talking with you. Not just the usual life stuff. I mean really talking. You remember how we used to stay up past midnight, just talking?" Another shrug. My heart did this thing, it didn't break. It just sagged, like a beam in a house slowly bowing under too much weight. I reached out gently and brushed her hair back from her face. Emma, what's really going on with us? She finally looked at me, her face unreadable. You're overthinking everything again, Jack. Can't we just relax tonight? I'm trying, I said, barely above a whisper. I'm trying every day. She turned away, pulling the blanket tighter over her shoulder. Good night. I sat there for a moment longer, staring at the back of her head, listening to the soft clink of her tea, untouched on the nightstand. I still love you, you know, I said quietly. She didn't answer. I ended up sleeping on the far edge of the bed that night, staring up at the ceiling fan. The air was too still. Even the silence had a texture, like static, heavy and persistent. Her breathing was steady beside me, peaceful even, like she had nothing on her mind. And that, more than anything, made it hurt. I used to know this woman. I used to know exactly what she needed, what mood she was in, every playful glance. We used to have whole conversations without words. Now I couldn't even guess what she was thinking. There was no fight left in her, but there was no warmth either. Just indifference, a kind of apathy that chilled the room worse than any argument ever could. I turned my back to her and closed my eyes, wondering when exactly our bed became just a piece of furniture, not a place of safety or laughter or whispered dreams. Just a waiting room where no one ever got called in. I wasn't even sure what I was waiting for anymore. It was a Tuesday night, the kind that smells like rain-soaked pavement and leftover takeout. I'd just come out of the shower, towel drying my hair, when I noticed the bedroom lights were off. Only the faint glow of Emma's phone lit the sheets. She was curled up on her side of the bed, blanket pulled high, fingers tapping fast. The moment she heard me step in, she jerked, sliding the phone under the covers like a kid caught cheating on a quiz. What was that? I asked, trying to sound casual, though my heart was already pounding. Emma's head snapped up. What was what? You just hid your phone. She laughed, too fast, too bright. Don't be weird. I was just finishing a text. I took a slow step closer, water still dripping from my hair. To who? She sat up straighter, brushing hair behind her ear. Mindy, she's having drama with her new guy again. I nodded slowly, watching her carefully. Can I see? The pause between my words and her reply was a canyon. You don't trust me now? She asked, her voice suddenly soft and velvety. She reached out, gently tugging the towel from my neck. Come on, Jack. You're acting like some jealous boyfriend from a soap opera. I didn't move. Emma, I just want to see. Her hand slid up my chest. You're tense. I'm not playing games here. Her fingers traced my jawline now, her face tilted just so, half apology, half seduction. Baby, don't ruin the night. Let's not fight again. Before I could respond, she leaned in and kissed me hard. Desperate. It took the wind out of me, not because of the heat, but the speed. The tactic. She kissed like she was trying to erase the last 10 seconds, like I was supposed to forget the way her eyes had widened in panic. Emma, I muttered, trying to pull back, but her hands wrapped around the back of my neck. This doesn't solve anything. Maybe we don't need to solve anything tonight, she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. She pressed herself closer, and instinct took over for a moment. I wanted to believe it. I wanted to believe she missed me, wanted me, felt something real. But in the back of my mind, alarm bells kept ringing. This wasn't how she'd touched me in months. And now, suddenly, when I asked about her phone, she wanted to get physical. I gently pushed her back a few inches, meeting her eyes. This doesn't feel like you. She pouted faintly, like a scolded actress in a bad scene. Maybe that's because you've forgotten who I am. No, I said quietly. I think I'm starting to remember. There was a flicker of something in her face. For a split second, her expression dropped. The flirtation peeled back. Underneath, I saw it, a quick flash of calculation. Then she blinked, smiled, and pulled the covers around her. Good night, Jack. Just like that, the moment ended. I stood there for a few beats longer, towel damp in my hand, skin cooling fast. She turned her back to me. The room felt darker than it had moments ago, like the air had thickened. My chest was tight. I didn't push it further. I turned out the light and lay down beside her, the mattress cold and stiff. Beside me, Emma's breathing steadied quickly, too quickly, like a performer offstage. My mind kept spinning, every part of that exchange replaying, twisting, poking at the edges of my sanity. A kiss should feel like connection. That kiss had felt like a bribe. The smell of burnt coffee and bacon grease hit me the second I stepped into Gary's diner. It hadn't changed since college. Same sticky vinyl booths, same grumpy waitress with the beehive hair, same weak coffee you had to drink twice to feel anything. Marcus was already at our usual booth, one arm draped over the seat, the other stirring a milkshake like he was 10. I hadn't seen him in a year, maybe 2, but he looked the same, tighter fade on the sides, a little more muscle, but still Marcus, the guy who once convinced me to do a keg stand in a borrowed tux. Jack attack. He grinned, standing to pull me into a quick bro hug. Man, what's it been? A decade? Feels like it. I slid into the booth. We ordered the usual, burgers, onion rings, 2 coffees. We made a little small talk about work. He managed operations at a shipping firm. I mentioned the web dev projects. But then, like a dam breaking, I dropped it. It's Emma, I said. His brow furrowed. What about her? I stared into my coffee. Something's off. Has been for a while. She's distant, cold, like she's trying to disappear without actually leaving. He leaned back. You two fighting? I shook my head. That's the thing. No yelling, no real blow-ups, just silence, disinterest. And last night, I caught her hiding her phone. When I asked about it, she kissed me. He raised an eyebrow. That's a new one. Yeah, it didn't feel like love. It felt like misdirection. Marcus narrowed his eyes. You think she's cheating? I don't know. I don't want to think that. I mean, we've been talking about a second honeymoon. I even started looking at flights somewhere quiet, a restart. He scoffed. Bro, don't romanticize a woman who's playing you. You can't fix this with rose petals and sand dunes. I frowned. You think I'm being stupid? No, he said, and for once his voice was calm. I think you're being loyal. But loyalty is only noble when it's mutual. If she's checked out, you deserve to know, clean. No more guessing. I hesitated, then nodded slowly. I need the truth, even if it wrecks me. Marcus leaned forward, lowering his voice. Then let's get it. I looked up. What do you mean? I mean, you and me. We track her. Follow patterns. We play it smart. No drama, no confrontations. Just proof, one way or another. You serious? He smiled. Dead serious. You remember sophomore year, when that psycho professor accused me of plagiarizing and you hacked into the campus portal to prove otherwise? I smirked despite myself. That was different. Was it? He slid his coffee toward the edge of the table. You were my brother then, still are. So now it's my turn. There was something deeply grounding in those words, like being pulled back to solid ground after drifting at sea. Marcus didn't ask for more details. He didn't lecture me about red flags or make me feel like a fool for hanging on. He just showed up, like he always had. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't losing my mind. I had a brother in my corner now, and we were going to find the truth together. Marcus's old Honda Civic hummed low as we crept along a quiet street 2 blocks off the city's east side. The car smelled like gum wrappers and gasoline, with an air freshener that hadn't worked in years. He called it the Ghost. It didn't make noise, didn't draw attention, just what we needed. It had been 3 days since the diner. 3 days since Marcus offered to help me see what I was afraid to admit. And now here we were, grown men staking out my wife like amateurs. Yoga again? Marcus asked, checking the time. Yeah, same class, same excuse, I said, staring out the window. Every Thursday now. She's never liked yoga. Pattern, he muttered, pulling up behind a row of parked cars near the studio. Always look for patterns. I didn't answer. I was too busy pressing my thumb into the palm of my hand. It had become a habit lately, something to focus on when my chest got tight. From where we sat, we had a clear view of the entrance. A few other women in leggings and ponytails came and went, chatting, stretching, sipping water. Then Emma appeared. She looked light, carefree, in a way I hadn't seen in months. A gray hoodie draped off one shoulder, her hair tied back in a loose bun, wisps falling around her face. She wasn't checking her phone. She wasn't rushing. She was glowing. Is that her? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. I nodded. Yeah, that's her. Seconds later, a sleek black sedan turned the corner and rolled to a smooth stop by the curb. The passenger door opened before it came to a full halt. Emma smiled wide and climbed in. She didn't even glance around. Didn't hesitate. Didn't text me. That's not Kara, Marcus said, stating the obvious. Nope. We waited 2 beats. Then Marcus pulled out slowly and followed. Keep a 2-car buffer, he said suddenly. All business. Watch brake lights, not bumpers. We're not here to cause a scene. I sat back, gripping the seat belt with both hands like I was bracing for a crash. They drove across town, 20 minutes, smooth ride, no stops. Finally, the car pulled into a back lot behind a place I knew. Bastion, a boutique wine bar that Emma once said was too pretentious for date night. So what was she doing there? We parked across the street behind a delivery truck. They didn't go inside. They sat in the car. At first, it was just conversation. I watched her gesturing with her hands, laughing, leaning in close, like the space between them didn't exist. He said something clever, apparently, and she tilted her head back and laughed the way she hadn't with me in a year. Not a chuckle, but a full body, eyes closed. I feel so safe here, laugh. Then he reached over and touched her face. It wasn't some casual brush. It was practiced, familiar, like he'd done it before. I felt something tear quietly without sound. A seam in the center of my chest giving way under the weight of pretending. Want me to get a pic? Marcus asked quietly, phone in hand. No, I whispered. I don't need a photo to remember this. We watched them for another few minutes. No kiss. No scandal. Just intimacy. Intimacy so obvious it made my throat ache. Marcus shifted beside me. You don't have to stay here, man. We got what we came for. I nodded slowly but didn't move. There was something brutal about watching someone you love be gentle with someone else. The man reached into the back seat, pulled out something, maybe a gift bag. Emma's eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas. She touched his wrist and leaned in close again. I turned away. She smiled like that when she first saw our house. I muttered. Marcus didn't say anything. Walked through the door and said it felt like home. That was her exact word, home. I leaned back in the seat, let my head rest against the cool glass. Now she smiles like that somewhere else, with someone else. No storm, no explosion, just the quiet unraveling of everything I thought we were. And me, just the guy with a seatbelt and a front row view. That night, I lay in bed with my eyes open, staring into the dark like it held answers. Emma was beside me, her breathing soft and even, peaceful, almost smug, her body curled slightly away like always. Same curve of her shoulder, same satin robe draped like nothing had changed. But I had seen her laugh. I had seen her glow, not just smile, and not with me. That image, her face lit by the dashboard light, her hand brushing his, her eyes warm and unguarded. It looped in my head like a silent film. A flicker of someone else's life I had no part in. I could have woken her. I could have said something. But I didn't. Instead, I turned to her, and, with a voice so light it startled even me, I whispered, long day? She shifted slightly, half asleep. Yoga wore me out. I reached out, gently stroking her arm. You're beautiful, you know that? She smiled lazily into the pillow. Took you long enough to notice again. I let out a soft chuckle. I never stopped. She didn't respond, just slipped deeper into sleep, satisfied. The next morning, I made her coffee with oat milk. She liked that now, apparently, and left it on her nightstand with a cinnamon stick, like she'd seen in some influencer video. She raised an eyebrow. What's the occasion? No occasion, I said with a grin. Just thought I'd spoil you a little. Well, don't make it a habit, she teased, sipping slowly. But her eyes lit up, and she stood a little taller when she walked past me in her robe. Over the next few days, I became a man obsessed with softness. I remembered her favorite candle scent, lavender sage, and lit it in the evenings. I asked about her day before she could retreat into her phone. I massaged her shoulders while she watched shows I had no interest in. I smiled even when it felt like my face was cracking apart. Every compliment, every touch, it wasn't weakness, it was clarity. She wanted attention. I'd give her so much she couldn't breathe in it. And she basked in it. Suddenly, Emma began wearing lipstick again, even around the house. She started lingering in the hallway mirror, adjusting her hair, checking angles. She giggled at nothing. Wore that red blouse I hadn't seen in over a year. I watched it all like an actor in a slow-moving play. The rise of a queen who thought her kingdom was secure. One night, as she passed me in the kitchen, I brushed a crumb off her collar and said, "You've got that walk into a room and stop art thing going again." She laughed, flipping her hair. Maybe I never lost it. No, I said softly. You just forgot how much it was worth. She blinked, caught off guard for a moment. But then she smiled wide. drunk on the adoration. She didn't see the calculation behind my eyes. She didn't feel the cold strategy behind every warm word. And why would she? She was too busy blooming under the light I'd handed back to her, too distracted to notice the roots rotting quietly beneath. The bar was dim, low-ceilinged, tucked behind a pawn shop and a boarded-up dry cleaner. One of those places where the light stayed amber no matter the hour, and the booths were scarred with names carved by lonely hands. Marcus poured the second round himself. No words at first, just the two of us watching the slow swirl of whiskey in our glasses, the quiet hum of a blues guitar drifting from the jukebox in the corner. She smiled at him. I said finally, the words sticking in my throat. She touched his wrist like I didn't exist. Marcus didn't blink. You still want proof? No, I said. I've got enough. Her silence is proof. Her glow, that laugh, it was never mine. He nodded. Then what's next? I leaned back, staring at the chipped ceiling tiles. We give her the world. Marcus raised a brow. Come again. I turned to face him, my voice calm. Let her feel like royalty for a while. Spoil her. Praise her. Give her exactly what she thinks she deserves. His lips twitched. And then we take the crown off her head and show her the mirror. A moment of silence passed between us. Then Marcus let out a slow whistle. You want poetic? That's Shakespeare-level cold, man. I shrugged. It's not about revenge, not really. It's about clarity. She thinks I'm blind. Let her keep thinking that. Let her build her fantasy. He clinked his glass gently against mine. To the play. To the curtain drop, I said, and we drank. The next morning, I woke up early and made her breakfast, Belgian waffles, fresh blueberries, vanilla cream. The kind of breakfast reserved for anniversaries or apologies. She walked into the kitchen in silk shorts and a smug little smile. Well, someone's suddenly inspired, she said, eyeing the table. Thought you could use a morning off, I said, setting her plate down like I worked at a five-star brunch spot. Is this coffee, oat milk, cinnamon blend? She asked, already sipping. With a dash of vanilla, I replied. She tilted her head. What's the occasion? I gave a soft smile. Just celebrating you. You've been glowing lately. Emma's eyes sparkled. Finally noticing, huh? Can't miss it now, I said. I spent the afternoon booking her a full spa day, massage, facial, the works. Sent the confirmation straight to her inbox with a little note. Every queen deserves a throne. Enjoy your day, Jay. When she read it, she actually gasped. Her phone buzzed, and she ran to check it like a teenager getting asked to prom. Jack, she beamed, waving the screen. This is incredible. I smiled up from the couch. You've earned it. You've been carrying a lot. You deserve to be taken care of. Emma walked with a new bounce that day, shoulders back, chin high, hips swaying. Even her voice changed, lighter, silkier. She started taking longer showers, posted more selfies, one with a caption that read, feeling like myself again. Marcus saw it and texted me one word, blooming. I replied, let her. Because the truth was simple. Emma had started walking like she owned the world. And that was exactly the world I was going to pull out from under her. It was a Thursday evening, golden hours spilling through the kitchen windows. The light hit her just right, skin glowing, lips glossed, cheekbones lifted by some expensive serum I had probably paid for without knowing. Emma sat at the kitchen island, scrolling her phone like a celebrity waiting for her driver. She didn't look up when I walked in. I set 2 glasses of wine on the counter, Merlot, her favorite. Busy? I asked lightly, leaning beside her. She gave me a glance. Just catching up. Mindy posted another thirst trap with her personal trainer. The woman's unhinged. Sounds like a good night to unplug, I said. Sit back. Let me take care of you a little. That got her attention. She tilted her head, eyes curious. Oh. I leaned in slightly, my voice softer. You've been glowing lately. Thought maybe we could celebrate that. Emma smiled, slow and amused. Celebrate what exactly? You, I said. Us. A reset. She swirled her wine, watching the ripples. You've been awfully attentive lately. I nodded. You've been easy to adore. That landed. She laughed, a little breathy, a little indulgent. I moved closer, lowering my voice. Maybe later we could light a candle, that lavender one you like. Watch something dumb on the couch. Or, she asked, eyebrow raised. Skip the dumb show and reconnect in our own way. She looked me over, setting her wine glass down with a soft clink. Then she leaned toward me, lips almost brushing my ear. Her voice dropped to a mocking whisper. You're a simp, she said smugly. You don't even deserve intimacy. She pulled back like she'd just dropped a mic. I froze. The smile stayed on my face, but something behind my eyes went cold. I didn't blink. I didn't speak, just a heartbeat of silence. Then I let out a low, slow chuckle. That threw her. She blinked. What's funny? I looked at her. Not through her, not around her, straight into her. I was just thinking, I said calmly. You finally stopped pretending. Emma crossed her arms. Excuse me. I smiled wider. You used to be better at this, softer. You'd at least coat your insults in sugar. Oh, please, she snapped, tossing her hair. You've been groveling for weeks like a puppy hoping for scraps. And you've been performing like a woman who still has something worth hiding. I said, my tone never shifting. That hit something. She narrowed her eyes. You don't get to talk to me like that. You just did. I was joking. No, you weren't. Another pause, a long one. You could feel the air change. She stepped back slightly, confusion flickering in her expression. What is this? Are you seriously trying to grow a backbone now? I let the silence work. Then I said, no, Emma. I already had one. I just stopped bending it for you. I turned without waiting for her response, grabbed my keys from the dish, and headed toward the door. Behind me, I heard her laugh, but it was too loud, too forced. Jack, where are you going? She called after me, half mocking. Going to run to Marcus? Tell him I was mean to you. I didn't answer. I just opened the door and stepped out into the cool air. The sun had dipped behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the yard. For the first time in a long while, I breathed freely. Behind me, through the window, I saw her standing in the kitchen, arms still crossed, mouth tight, alone. The smug glow had faded. Her smile had vanished. In its place was something else, smaller, uneasy, a seed of fear. She didn't know what had changed, only that something had. I returned just after dark, the quiet click of the front door catching in the silence. The house was dim except for the soft kitchen light. Emma sat on the couch in one of her satin robes, legs crossed, wine glass in hand, pretending she hadn't been waiting for the sound of my keys. She didn't look at me when I walked in. You left the door unlocked, I said, setting my laptop bag down beside the armchair. Must have slipped my mind, she replied coolly, sipping her wine. I figured you weren't coming back tonight. I sat across from her, calm, composed. I didn't bother taking off my coat. Where were you? She asked after a moment. Does it matter? She arched a brow. If we're playing the mystery man game now, then yeah, I'd say it matters. I smiled faintly and opened the laptop. I turned the screen toward her without a word. At first, she didn't react. Then she squinted. The photos loaded one by one. Emma stepping out of the black sedan, laughing. Emma leaning against the car, her hand brushing his chest. Emma's lips on his neck in the back corner of a parking lot, half hidden behind tinted glass. She froze. The wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. Where did you? She started. I didn't answer. I just let the silence sit with her. Jack, this is out of context. I finally spoke, voice even. Sure. I'd love the context for lips on someone else's throat in a wine bar lot. Please enlighten me. She set the glass down a little too fast. It clinked hard on the coaster. Okay, listen. It's not what you think. I leaned back, folding my arms. Then what is it? She hesitated, eyes flicking to the laptop, then to me. He's a coworker. It got complicated. I didn't plan it. I laughed once, no humor in it. You didn't plan 3 different outings in 2 weeks? You didn't plan matching his schedule like clockwork? Emma, don't insult me. Not now. She stood abruptly, robe swaying. We've been off for months, Jack. You don't touch me. You barely even. Don't, I said quietly. Don't flip this. She paused. Her tone shifted, softer now. I was confused. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. And when you started being sweet again, I thought maybe we were fixing things. You thought? I asked. Before or after the second time his hand was in your back pocket? She blinked hard, lips parted. Jack. And then she tried it, her old trick. She moved closer slowly, her fingers brushing my knee, voice velvet. Baby, listen to me. You know it was just a mistake. A slip. It didn't mean anything. You and me, we still have something, don't we? I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Her hand slid along my thigh. We can fix this. I'll stop. I'll block him. I'll do anything. I looked her straight in the eye. Then I reached into the laptop bag, pulled out a plain manila folder, and dropped it on the coffee table. She didn't touch it. Her hand froze mid-stroke. What is that? Divorce papers, I said calmly. Already drawn, already filed. Sign them, or we go to court. For the first time, real panic crept into her face. Her throat bobbed. Jack, wait. You don't need to do this. We can work through this. I shook my head. No, Emma. You work through a storm. This is rot. You're really doing this, she whispered, almost to herself. I didn't answer because I already had. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and lemon polish, sterile, silent, and too cold for how personal everything felt. I sat at one end of the long walnut table, hands clasped calmly in my lap. To my left sat Marcus, silent, solid, his broad shoulders squared in quiet support. To my right, our attorney, Mr. Caton, who had the kind of voice that could explain heart surgery like a weather report. Across from me sat Emma. She looked smaller than usual, not physically, but in spirit. No robe, no spa glow, no smirk, just a simple gray blouse, barely any makeup, and a pale line around her ring finger where something used to be. She hadn't spoken since she walked in. Caton cleared his throat. Mrs. Harland, as we've reviewed, this packet finalizes the division of assets and relinquishes any claim to further spousal support. You've confirmed agreement via email last week. Emma nodded faintly, still not looking at me. I watched her pick up the pen with fingers that trembled just slightly. Not enough to make a scene, but enough for me to notice. For years, I had memorized those hands. Now I watched them break a marriage with the tiniest movements. Please sign on the last page, Caton said gently. She flipped through the pages slowly, like she was hoping one would vanish if she blinked hard enough. When she reached the signature line, her eyes lingered. Then she signed, black ink, smooth, final. She slid the papers forward. Not a word. Caton checked it, nodded, then pushed a second copy toward me. I signed without hesitation. Emma flinched at the sound of my pen scraping the page. Marcus reached out and gently tapped the table twice with his finger, a small gesture, but enough to steady me, like we'd rehearsed it. Caton stacked the documents neatly, then closed the folder. And with that, he said quietly, you're legally no longer bound in marriage. A copy will be emailed to both of you for your records. Emma finally looked up at me then, for the first time all day. Her eyes searched mine, not pleading, not angry, just lost. I didn't blink. I didn't offer a smile. I just gave her a small nod. That was all she'd get. I stood up, adjusted my jacket, and turned to Marcus. Let's go. He rose without a word. And together, we walked out, the weight of the past not heavier, but finally behind us. As the door shut softly behind me, I didn't feel relief or joy, just clarity. And the cool, steady breath of a man no longer holding his life together with someone else's lies. The bar smelled like oak and tobacco, the kind of smell that stays with you. It was tucked just off a side street in East Nashville, dim lights, jazz humming in the corner, and shelves of bourbon stacked like a shrine. Marcus and I had claimed a booth near the back. It was late, a Thursday. Most people had cleared out, just the night regulars now, and us. Two men with enough past behind them to sit quietly and not need to fill the air. He slid a glass toward me. This one's from the Screw It, We Survived shelf. I grinned. That a real shelf? Or just something you made up? Marcus shrugged. It's real now. We clinked glasses and drank. Smooth. Burned just enough to remind you you're alive. Been 3 months, he said after a pause. Feel any different? I thought about it, swirled the bourbon in the glass. Not really, I said. Still get up too early. Still forget to buy new socks. Still don't know how to fold a fitted sheet. He chuckled. I meant about Emma. I took another sip, let it sit. She's a ghost. Not the haunting kind, just a name in my inbox now. A woman I once waited for in a kitchen. Marcus nodded slowly. That's peace right there. Feels like it, I said. A beat passed. He leaned back, one arm draped over the booth. You ever think about dating again? I snorted. I just learned how to enjoy silence again. Let me keep it a while. He laughed. Fair. We talked a while longer. Old college stories. The time he convinced me to climb onto the gym roof during a fire drill. The time I bailed him out after a date went sideways with a vegan art major in a raccoon sanctuary. Time passed easier now. There wasn't weight on the words. Eventually, I looked down into my half-empty glass and said, you know what I keep thinking about? Marcus raised an eyebrow. That first night at Gary's diner, I said. I was sitting there thinking I was crazy, that maybe I was overthinking it all, that if I just gave more, she'd love me right again. He didn't say anything. I looked up. But you didn't let me stay in that lie. Marcus tapped his glass against mine. That's what brothers are for. Pull you out of the fog. I nodded slowly. True friends worth their weight in blood and gold. He raised his glass. To loyalty. I raised mine too. To walking through fire and not getting burned twice. We drank. Outside, the Nashville night stretched wide and easy, the city glowing quietly through the windows. No drama, no regrets, just bourbon, stories, and the kind of peace you earn the hard way. And in that booth, in that dim little bar, I didn't feel like a man who had been broken. I felt like a man who had rebuilt. And that was the end of the story. I still think about the night Marcus offered to help me. No questions, no judgment. Just a quiet, steady loyalty most people never find once, let alone keep. He didn't have to get involved, but he did. So, I've got to ask you, did Marcus do the right thing, stepping in to help me uncover the truth, or should he have stayed out of it altogether? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story hit home for you, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around, because I've got more stories to come.